5 years to buy this comic. There's only one comic in here, but it was 5 years from the first time I saw this book until it ever came up for sale publicly again. It finally came up for sale and I bought it. There's actually 2 books that we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to talk about why I bought these books, why I think they're so special, why I think they're worthy to collect, and a whole bunch of other interesting stuff. We're even going to take a peek inside one of these, and it's going to be a great video. But before we hop into it, I want to remind you that we have an amazing Whatnot show scheduled for tomorrow. $1 drop of my Ultimate Spider-Man #1. I'm selling it for $1. Come by, use the link down in the description and get $15 towards your first purchase if you're new. There's also going to be over a dozen books in the Buy It Now that we're going to be dropping valuable exclusives for $1. So if you use my link, you can come by and potentially pick up a stack of books, and you just have to pay for shipping. We're also going to do $1 starts and 50 CGC slab giveaways and your chance at $1,000 store credit at brycecomics.com if you win 2 giveaways in the same show. It's happened before, and I hope it happens tomorrow. So without further ado, let's crack into this box and see what I picked up. First of all, packing peanuts, completely unacceptable. No packing peanuts, people, ever. All right, so triple boxed. It was triple boxed. This came from mycomicshop.com. This is the first time I've ever seen this book in person. Oh my God. Wow, 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 wow. I can't believe I'm actually holding this, and I can't believe how good this looks. We're talking about Best Comics #1 from 1939. And to go with it, I also have Best Comics #2, and I'll put better pictures of these up on the screen. So let's get into it. First, let's start with Best Comics #1. So it's called Best Comics. It's from Better Publications. It's sideways instead of vertical. They tried everything to sell this comic, and it just didn't work. This is the first appearance of the Red Mask, who's this hero that you can see, what some believe and what I believe to be the first black superhero in comics from 1939. It's kind of debated because it's really hard to track some of these things down. But as far as I can see from what I found online, this is the first black superhero in comics. And one of the things I find super interesting is look at the tone that they've used for his arm there. It's black, like they actually used the color black, the colorist. And there's some really interesting stuff going on here with the coloring and the colorist that we'll get into here in just a sec. But of course, this book also features Happy and Pappy, the much loved character of Jigger. We got Pop's Night Out, we got Peggy Wow, we've got the Jams, we got Silly Willy. I mean, this book has it all. What else could you ask for? It's in the new CBCS magazine case, which this is the first time I have seen it, and I gotta say, I am very impressed with the new CBCS magazine case. CGC also has a new magazine case, and I would say that these are comparable. So this is the new CBCS case, but before the new CBCS label. And I don't really care for the new CBCS label anyways. So I'm just gonna, I believe I'm just gonna keep it as CBCS. This is from a collection called the Oxford Collection. So it's a pedigree comic. The Oxford Collection is some of really, really old books. I believe some platinum age comics and really early golden age, mostly issue #1s. And they just went up for sale at mycomicshop.com, and this was one of them. And it was the first time that I've seen this book come up for sale in 5 years. Back 5 years ago when I saw this book come up for sale, I researched it. I thought, man, I would love to own that thing. And the copy sold for like $3,500. And at the time, 5 years ago, this was before Bryce Comics, $3,500 was out of the question to be a comic book, how much I would spend on a comic book. My my, how the times have changed. Now, the most expensive book that has ever come through the shop was $125,000, that Fantastic Four #1. And then this is Best Comics #2 in a 1.5, which I also found for sale at my comic shop, Raw, just a couple months before this one came up. I couldn't believe it. Like, I've been on the hunt for these books. I've had searches set at all of the auction houses everywhere for 5 years, and all of a sudden I get issues #1 and 2 within a couple months of each other. I got a great deal on this Raw. It came back a 1.5. I'm absolutely thrilled to own both of these. So now what I want to do is hop into the computer, take a look at some notable books and even some spec recommendations for, notable black superhero comic books. And then we're going to actually take a look at some of the interior pages of this Best Comics #2. So I want to start with a brief little recap here of Black Heritage comics. If you're interested in collecting books that are historically significant to Black heritage, this is the book I just bought here, which is Best Comics #1, which is the first appearance of the Red Mask, which is the first known published African comic book masked hero. So this came out in 1939, the very beginning of the golden age of comics, right around when Superman first came out, and dangerously close to the platinum age of comics, which would be more like 1938 was the end of the platinum age. So 1939, you got Best Comics here, and then you hop over to Key Collector. We've got All Negro Comics #1 from 1947. So this was almost 10 years later, but this is the first comic book produced in full by Black creators, including writers, artists, and the publisher. And unfortunately, it was just the one issue, just an absolutely awesome cover, awesome piece of history, created by all Black creators from 1947, which is on my short list of things to be on the lookout for. And if we go over here to the Nerdist, they have an article here that says the brief history of Lion Man, the first Black superhero. So they're actually incorrect, because this is the first appearance of Lion Man in All Negro Comics, and it came out almost 10 years after Best Comics #1. So it's definitely not the first Black superhero, but it is still a very important key. And the thing about this is, there you can see Lion Man, is that there's a lot, these books are so rare and so scarce that it's understandable why there's some misconceptions about, which one actually is the first. But nonetheless, it's still a significant key. Then you come over here and you got Lobo #1, the first appearance and origin of Lobo. This is the first comic book title featuring a Black character. So the title is actually Lobo. This is Lobo. This is his comic. So this was another very important historical moment in 1965. Then we have Black Lightning #1, which is the first appearance and origin of Black Lightning. This is a book that I think is drastically undervalued. I had a 9.8 in my shop recently, and it just hung on for dear life. Nobody wanted to buy it, even at below fair market value. And I just always thought that this book is underappreciated, undervalued, and it might, see its day in the sun sometime in the future. It might be a good spec pickup. And this is the first solo title featuring a Black hero at DC. So another historically significant moment there. Then we have Fantastic Four 52, the first Black superhero at Marvel from 1966. And I do believe that this is the first Black character to have superpowers, which is also significant. And then we have Black Panther #1 from 1977, which is the first solo title for a Black character at Marvel, and also just an awesome key being the first solo series for Black Panther and this classic Jack Kirby cover. This book has taken a huge drop off recently. I think it's overcorrected. I think that at today's prices, might be a good time to pick up this book if you're interested in collecting these types of things. Now, so if we take a look real quick at the census, we've got Best Comics #1, 11 total copies on the CGC census. 2 of those are restored, so only 9 unrestored copies. There's only 4 copies graded higher than mine, which is awesome. If we come over here to the CBCS report, there's only 1 issue on the CBCS census, and they don't even have any issues of 2, 3, or 4. So for the whole series, they just have my copy is the only one on the CBC census for the whole series. That's how scarce this thing is. And one of the most interesting things about this comic is that it was so early, and this book tried everything to get sales. It tried to make its title Best Comics. The publisher was Better Publications. They made it sideways instead of vertical. They were just trying to be different to stand out. And I believe one of the most interesting things about it is that on the cover for issues 2, 3, and 4, the Red Mask appears as a white superhero. And if you come over here and look at issue number 3, he's white on the cover, and issue number 4, he's white on the cover. And on the interior pages, which we'll soon see, we're going to actually read this issue of number 2, that he's clearly intended to be a black character. And all throughout issue number 1, he's black on the cover and black on the interior pages. It's not until issue 2 where we start to see him portrayed as white on the cover and black on the inside. Now, there's also panels where he appears kind of white on the inside. And so there is a possibility that this is just a coloring issue, that the colorist or the printer made a mistake on this. Like, that's a possibility. But I don't think that that's what happened. I think that they faced backlash for having a black character on a comic book cover, protecting a white female. And I think that they got backlash for that. I mean, we're talking about 1939. And so I think in an effort to continue to sell the comics, they tried to trick people into buying it by making them white on the cover, but they couldn't make the adjustment on the interior panels or something like that. And so that would be my guess, is that they're trying to avoid some racist controversy at the time. And one of the things that's so cool about this, it says that the Gerber Comics Photojournal Scarcity Index says that there are no more than between 11 and 20 copies of issue number 2 or 3. And what's really interesting is that this is actually my copy. This one on the internet. The only picture that I've ever been able to find on the internet is the one that I currently own. And I know that because of this stamp right here that says HG. So it's really cool to own that. I wouldn't be surprised if there was even less than this. If we go to the CGC census and look at issue number 2, there is 8 total copies. So yeah, around 11 probably total in existence. There's probably a couple floating around out there that aren't graded yet. I got mine raw and got it graded, so it's not without the realm of possibilities, but only 5 total unrestored copies for issue number 2. And I don't know that I necessarily need to collect issues number 3 and 4. I'm not a completionist. I don't feel the need to, have a complete run of something. You get the point with both 1 and 2. I get, him black on the first cover, white on the second cover, so that conversation piece is there. And I don't necessarily need to get 3 and 4, which is why I decided to make this video now, because, I know there's even less of a chance that I'm going to be able to find it, that this is on other people's radars, but I'd be happy to just keep, 1 and 2. So since I got the Best Comics number 2 raw, we recorded a video of me flipping through actually all the pages. We're having a hard time finding that right now. Hopefully we can find it because it's such a rare book, but I believe there is a website that has some of the interior pages. So let's hop back in the computer and take a look at some of these interior panels of Best Comics number 2. All right, so here we are on kboutofThisWorld.blogspot.com. I'll put a link to this in the video description. If you want to come and read this, there's some awesome information here about this series and links to other stuff. So if this is intriguing to you, you'll have a lot of fun on this blog post. So this is the interior story for The Adventures of the Red Mask for issue number 2. And as you can see, there's some unfortunate racist depictions of black people throughout, but it's a sign of the times. This was 1939 when this was written, and here you can see we have the Red Mask, who is clearly black in this panel, and it seems like there's just some coloring issues with these panels. Here he's completely white, here his face is white, but his hand is black, so it almost seems like just a mistake with the coloring. But it's also interesting that it's clearly black over white, and this was reprinted from the comic book strips, which were first released in newspaper form. And so I wonder if there was some translation problems with that. But as the story goes on, he's clearly supposed to be a black character. In the vast majority of the panels, he is black. So it's that cover that is so interesting that he's clearly white. And that's why I believe that it was a decision to try to get people to buy the comic. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I realized I forgot to talk about pricing. So I paid $4,561. And I think this is the sale that I was talking about 5 years ago. It was actually a little bit over 4 years ago. I vaguely remember it being a 5.0 that sold for around, $3,000. So I think this is that sale that I, had price memory about from a little over 4 years ago. And so my max bid for this was $5,000. And I ended up getting it for $4,561. And I think if I would have bid a little differently, I may have been able to get this for cheaper. So this was at My Comic Shop. And the way My Comic Shop auctions work is every time you place a bid in the last 3 minutes, it adds 3 minutes to the clock. Other auction houses, when the timer runs out, it's over. And those are the auction houses that I prefer because you can snipe. You can put in your max bid at the last second, and sometimes you end up getting it for a lot less than I think it would go for if they added time to the clock. So what happened was it got down to the last 3 minutes, and I believe it was at like 3,000. And I thought, man, this is going to be so awesome if I get this for 3,000, because you can see here a 4.5 sold for 3,200 back in 2016. So it was at 3,000, and then the last minute somebody bid 3,100, and then I bid 32, and then 33, and it went on and on and on and on. And I think if I would have just put my max bid in at 5,000 with that 3 minutes left the first time, the other bidder that I was bidding against might have got discouraged, because if he would have seen that every single time he placed a bid, he wasn't getting it. And then he would have thought, man, I don't know how high this guy's going to go. I might as well just give up. So there's a lot of psychology behind bidding, and it can play a huge role in how much you actually get the book for. While I got you here, let's check out BryceComics.com. Make sure to sign up for the newsletter while you're here, and you're entered to win a free slab. This is that last chance to get in on the Darkhawk #1 signed by Swagglehoss. And check out these awesome new Grail trades we just got in. X-Men 1 and a 4.5 Pedigree. Fantastic Four #1 and a 3.5, and Amazing Spider-Man 129 and a 9.8 with white pages. Almost a perfect cut and wrap, sharp corners, white pages. This thing is really, really pretty. Use code COLLECT10 for 10% off all in-stock items, excluding Big Boy Books. Tons of awesome stuff. Tons of really cool signature series just hit the website as well. So there you have it, guys. My two most recent pickups for my personal collection. Let me know down in the comments, is there any themes that you have in your collection? Do you like collecting themed books, or do you just go for the keys? Leave a note down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Don't forget, we always have that monthly giveaway here on the YouTube channel. If you subscribe, comment, and like, you're entered to win a free slab. And it's your last chance to get in on that Darkhawk #1 9.8 signature series giveaway signed by Swagglehoss for the January newsletter subscriber giveaway at BryceComics.com. And of course, check us out on tomorrow. If you're watching this the day it comes out, over on Whatnot, link down in the description for $15 towards that first purchase. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be one of my biggest, craziest shows, and I can't wait to see you guys there. Thanks for sticking with me to the end of the video. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.